So you will get a prompt on your screen as customary whenever recording a session. So for those of you who are not familiar with using Zoom yet, for your teaching, when you start recording, your participants will receive a prompt on their end, and they just simply click got it. Great. So today we will be looking at developing instructional materials with Canva. And I know that a lot of you are here today to see really and truly what Canva is about. Some of you are here because you have Canva accounts already, you've been using it and you want to sharpen those skills. Some of you, you're new to it and you just want to explore the tools and be able to design your presentations, your flyers, your brochures, infographics, and so on for teaching and learning purposes. And Canva is really nice for that itself, for designing instructional media. So as we go through the session, we'll look at different strategies in developing instructional materials, because this is what will allow our designs to be impactful. It will allow us to be able to design, thinking about the purpose of the design, thinking about the learner itself. Who am I designing this designing this presentation for, and how best can I represent the content in a graphical way in order to achieve the topic objectives or the lesson objectives, as the case may be, right? We will look at issues in designing instructional materials, and the issues we highlighted basically are three issues, three big issues, I would say, and those are some of the issues that we would want to avoid when designing instructional materials, and we'll get into that. And of course, we will look at using Canva itself. So for those of you who just joined the session, if you have not created a Canva account, please create one in the meantime, because in the middle of this session, you will be required to, it will be nice to actually be logged in and play around with the interface. So I, for one, have been in a course as a student, as an observer, or a session, a workshop, and the facilitator presenting would have presented that information so fast that I barely grasped the information being presented. That's just one issue. The other issue would have been the content itself. It was so heavy loaded, too much information on a slide, and the information could have also been complex information. So we're seeing data and text and all these different elements on one slide. And it's just so hard for me in that setting. It was very hard for me to pay attention to what is being discussed by the facilitator. So in this segment of this workshop, we will look at something called the cognitive load theory. And this is a scientific approach to the designing of instructional materials or learning materials, as some persons may refer to it as. And what happened is that when you consider the cognitive load theory, you'll be able now to develop your materials in such a way that the students, it's pegged at their level of complexity, right, of how they internalize information, and in such a way that they can easily understand it. And that is very important for us as facilitators. So what happened is that the cognitive load theory is a widely accepted human information processing theory. So it came out of the human information processing theory, which is presented here. Yeah, and this theory basically tells us that information comes in via sensors, different avenues, and it is taken or placed in another space called the working memory, and then later on stored in long-term memory. So I don't want to make this too technical, but what happens when the working memory becomes overloaded or overwhelmed with information is that if you look at the arrow to the bottom there, I'm seeing my thing blocking you. I'm sorry about that. I don't know why this is happening. All right, sorry about that. You would notice that when that working memory space is overloaded and filled with too much information, that information is then lost, forgotten, deleted. So if we keep this in mind, when we design our materials, we would know that the human brain, the mind, it can only absorb a certain amount of information at any given point in time. And we know this because we ourselves, when we explore new information or when we do our research, and for example, going to YouTube to learn how to change your tires in a car, or learn how to clean your stove or your microwave, you're looking for the shortest video. Yeah, you're looking for the shortest video because you know that one, you don't want to spend too much time looking at one video. You don't want the person in the video to be presenting too much information because you just want that the salient points, you want the know-how, and you just want to get that and leave. So we need to consider these things. New to it, okay. So good. It's okay if you're new to Canva. We definitely will take a very systematic approach to allow you to be able to use the tool itself for the first time. Yeah. So I have a video here which gives a good explanation of the cognitive load theory.
A central theory informing quality e-learning design of courses is called cognitive load theory. Now, this short little cartoon demonstrates how cognitive load theory works. Essentially, the underlying concept is that our working memory has a very limited and finite capacity, and that learning requires maximal use of our limited working memory. So as you watch this cartoon, this basically shows a person that is watching an e-learning course on a computer, and on the computer screen there is a conceptual map of some concept. At the same time that he or she is watching the computer screen, the person is also listening to a lecturer speak about the concepts that are shown on the screen. Now, the person is, while paying attention to these, begins to process both the words that he's hearing from the speaker and the images that he's seeing on the screen. Now, these are processed in what are considered two separate channels, two different parts of working memory inside our brain. There is a portion of working memory that is dedicated to the processing of visual information like concept maps, diagrams, pictures, etc. And then a separate part of the working memory known as the phonetic scratch pad that processes words, and these words could either be written text or spoken word. Now, again, the phonetic scratch pad and the visual scratch pad together are called working memory. Now, working memory is, again, a very limited space. In fact, it's so limited it can only hold 7 plus or minus 2 small chunks of information. Now, small chunks are limited data such as digits. So a person can remember 7 plus or minus 2 small small items of information like numeric digits, and they only can remember them for a very short period of time, 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Now, in order to process this information and put it into long-term memory, that is to learn the information for a long-term period of time, the person has to create connections between existing information and between the data that was held in working memory and create schema. And the schema are complex patterns of information that are stored in our long-term memory. Long-term memory, unlike short-term memory, is vast and can hold very complex data. So again, the long-term memory holds memory in the form of schema, which is complex connections between various data. And the long-term memory is both vast, can hold vast amounts of data, and very complex data compared to the very finite working memory.
Great. So was that video helpful? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know by a thumbs up. So I mean, for me, whenever I design, let's say a flyer, infographic, a brochure, I try my best as possible to consider the cognitive load theory. Yeah. If he's in this video, he's saying that the brain could own, or the working memory can only hold up to 7 plus or minus 2 bits of information. Then on my page, I try my best as possible to put that amount of information for persons to absorb at any given point in time. And I'll tell you that it's very difficult to do, but after some time you would realize that there are multiple ways in which you can do this. And in today's session, I hope that we are able to go through some of those techniques. Yeah. So there are issues around the cognitive load, right? So these are the three issues that I mentioned earlier that we would talk about: dual channels, limited capacity, and active processing. So what the dual channels really and truly means is that we absorb information, or we take information in from different channels. So in the video before, he did mention that there is the visual channel and the auditory channel. Yeah. So if info, and we also know that learning can be impactful or more efficient when video and audio enhances or reinforces each other. But what happens is that when the video and the audio is misaligned, it causes confusion. So that's the issue. The issue here is when the video and audio, there's misalignment there. And when we do that, we cause the brain itself to work harder to get the information that is being discussed, and learning can definitely be negatively impacted in that way. Anyone want to share any feedback on this, or give any examples of where they did this to students, or would have been a student and notice this happening? Because I remember in my earlier days preparing presentations, I thought that by including all this information on one slide is the best thing to do, because you're giving people more to look at, and it's looking nice, and we just paying so much attention to that. And I did not know, little did I know, that I was causing confusion in the brain. Anybody want to share some light on this? Give an example of how to, well, if not, give an idea or some recommendations to mitigate these things. Don't jump out all at once. Let me see the chat. No one. All right. So I know that this part of the session. Okay, let's see the chat. This part of the session may seem very theoretical, but I think that it's very important for us to give some context as to why we do things when designing. So yeah, so clear and concise information. That's it basically. So you put clear and concise information, and we have some tips later on how to do that when designing flyers, when designing print material, when designing slides. Someone else is saying the way the student learn as well, I think. So that's interesting. So we take into account the ways in which students learn. All right. In research presentation, sometimes the speaker may say an important point, but the point is not in the video. Yes, I read the slides. Okay, that can happen. One literal powerful point per slide. Okay. If slides are to be used, not paragraphs. So Joanna is saying basically use the points. It's called PowerPoint for a purpose, because you want to be able to explain the information, and you have that information in points on your slide, which is really good. And that is one way of mitigating this cognitive load issue. Not power paragraph. I like that one. And this is really good information to pass on to students as well, because when they do deliver presentations, you find that they put a full paragraph on the slide and they read from the slide, and that's not helping them. That's not helping them at all for the world of work, and also it also tells me that they don't really know how to explain, or they have challenges in explaining the content or the presentation topic. So let's move on. Thank you so much. We have to be models for them. Sometimes we are not, hence. Yeah. Thank you so much. So the limited capacity. So again, this one simply suggests that we can only process a limited amount of information, and we talk about that, and you all did mention that in the chat as well. So therefore, as instructors, as facilitators, as hosts, we must or designers, we must carefully select pieces of information to include on the design, and we must make intentional decisions about how we present that information. Yeah, that's point 2. And the third issue here, active processing. So the active processing basically is where the learning actually happens, right? So this is when people can identify and access important information in a session like this, or in a lesson, and they process that information, and they are able now to relate it to prior knowledge. And that just happened there when I asked the question about dual channels, and you all were able to use your prior information, your prior knowledge, and give advice, because you're able to connect with that information. And one thing to notice, that good design, good graphical design or media design can facilitate active processing. So my dear colleagues, when designing any instructional material, we must try to consider these 3 issues. That's it, just 3 issues: dual channels, limited capacity, active processing. And there's another theory that we are going to look at, and it's called the theory of multimedia learning. Now, and within that theory itself, there are different aspects or principles to consider. But for this presentation, we are only going to look at these 3 principles. All right, and we are calling it tips for lightening the cognitive load. And the first principle here is the Coherence Principle, which simply states that you, when designing your media, your presentation, your video, delete unnecessary words. You don't need it. Delete or remove, omit unwanted sounds and graphics. And I oftentimes fall prey to this, because sometimes when you're designing, it's hard to keep the feelings out of the design. I feel this thing looking good. I feel this song this background music going to enhance, but really and truly it is taken away from what I want this design to achieve. The other point here, the other principle here is called the Contiguity Principle. And this is very simple. It just indicates that when you're designing any material and you have a graphical media, a graphical artwork or anything, an image, photo, a diagram on that slide, let's just talk about slides for now. On a slide, you want to place the words next to the corresponding part of the graphic. And I too, in some of the examples later on, you will see where I violated this as well. And then there is the redundancy principle. Very simple. Do not duplicate audio and on-screen text. And we have 3 short, very short videos to give you a better understanding of or appreciation for these principles.
Did you know that memory retention improves when we use concise narration and graphics? And that memory suffers when we include irrelevant stories, details, graphics, and sounds in e-learning. As a designer, you can use Mayer's Coherence Principle to help you avoid information that isn't related to the content. It helps you focus on what's really important in a scene, including concise narration, contextual graphics and animation, and appropriate audio. Let's say you have a scene about circles. Did you find that scene distracting? As a learner, your brain tried to make sense of what was happening. It desperately tried to put the pieces together, but it had to work harder because the scene was full of conflicting information. Granted, this is an extreme example of what not to do, but it goes to show how distracting any unnecessary content can be. During this scene, your brain moved into overload, and all of the unnecessary elements blocked your ability to learn the essential content. Let's say you remove the text, extra graphics, and distracting audio. What do you notice? This is a circle. The circle is perfect in shape. Circles are found in mathematics, art, and architecture. The words enter through your ears. The graphics enter through your eyes. Your brain engages the auditory and visual information together, and you learn that these are circles. The Coherence Principle helps developers avoid overwhelming the learner with clutter like unrelated words, graphics, and sounds. It teaches us to avoid any on-screen action that isn't related to the content. It emphasizes using concise, well-thought-out content that brings the lesson to life, and it's always centered on the instructional goal. You're now on your way to improving your designs and creating deeper e-learning lessons.
Good. Nice. So that's pretty straightforward. Basically, the principle assumes that the learning process is obstructed when the learner's working memory is overloaded. And we talked about that earlier, right? So that's the coherence principle. Let's look at the contiguity principle. And I'll let the video do the explanation.
When was the last time you saw an e-learning slide, a newspaper graphic, or a PowerPoint slide with weird text and an awkward graphic placement and thought they could have done better? We often see graphics with text placed in a tiny legend off to the side or in a weird font that makes it hard to understand. And a learner will probably skip anything that's too hard to understand. Meyer's Contiguity Principle helps us improve the quality of our graphics by making sure on-screen text and narration aligns with the graphics. This may seem simple, easy even, but let's take a closer look at what this means for e-learning designers and how it improves knowledge retention in your learners. Start by placing graphic information on the graphic itself instead of in a legend. In this image about the parts of a circle, it's easier for the learner to remember the parts when they're superimposed over the image instead of labeled and then explained in a key. It's much more difficult for your learners to follow along with the narration and learn the parts of the circle if they have to listen to the narration, look for the circle part, look at the circle for the corresponding letter, and then check back with the legend to make sure it's correct. By the time your learner has done all of these steps, the narration and any accompanying on-screen animation has moved on. It's much simpler and easier just to label the graphic. Meyer's Contiguity Principle shouldn't only be applied to explanatory graphics. Anytime you're putting text on screen, you should try to put it as close to the associated graphics and narration as makes sense. It reduces the amount of time your learners spend moving their eyes back and forth across the screen, trying to make sense of the content. Finally, it also applies to quizzes and tests. Keep the instructions, question, the learner's answer, and the feedback all on the same page. All too often we find quizzes where the feedback and correct answers are on the last page after the learner has completed the test. By that point, it's harder for the learner to associate the feedback with the question in any meaningful way. Instead of distracting graphics and text, using the contiguity principle in your next module can help you improve knowledge retention and learner engagement. It should also help you avoid creating any of your own weirdly spaced slides and the awkward looks for learners.
Yeah. So some persons might think that when you design with the less is more concept, your design is plain and boring. But again, you need to realize, you need to pay attention to what you want to achieve. Is it that you want persons to be able to see a whole set of information, a lot of information? Is it that you want persons to take away important information, and to do that you zero in on those points by only including those important salient points on that media, so that when persons takes the eyes or their attention away from the presentation or the flyer, they can remember that what was on the flyer. Maybe they may not remember everything, but they may remember one line, one word that can definitely spark something else, right? So for the contiguity principle, we just need to align words to corresponding graphics, and you will see later on in this presentation where I would have created a video and I did not align my corresponding words with the graphics. Yeah. you as an observer, you would see exactly, you would get the impact, you'll feel the impact of when that is done, when there's misalignment. The redundancy principle. Now, this is the third principle that we are going to look at today. And this is basically stating that people, persons, individuals, students, they can't focus when they hear and see the same verbal message during a presentation. And of course, persons will argue this point, but I'm sure after looking at the video, you will get a better understanding as to what is meant by this principle itself.
Hi, my name is Jerson Campos. In this episode, we will focus on one of the 12 principles of multimedia learning. The 12 principles of multimedia learning was developed by Richard E. Mayer and has helped shape how multimedia learning is designed in ways that are consistent with how humans learn. We're going to be focusing on principle number 3, the redundancy principle. Now, this doesn't mean to repeat something over and over and over until the learner actually remembers the material. In Richard E. Mayer's book, Multimedia Learning, he states that people learn better from graphics and narration than from graphics, narration, and on-screen text. And this is where the word redundancy comes into play, because by adding graphics and narration, you are repeating the message but in different formats. This principle relies on the dual-channel assumption that people can process material both visually and auditorially. When you present the material with audio, it gets processed by their auditory channel. Adding visual elements like pictures or animations gets processed by the visual channel. These messages then get combined in their working memory for a complete and much more effective learning event than if the message was presented by visual or auditory channels alone. Well, what about learners who prefer printed words? The redundancy principle isn't a call to end all on-screen text, but it is a good practice to focus the message and select a few keywords or phrases. When you add a large amount of on-screen text like what is being narrated word for word, it creates competition with any other visual elements and overworks the visual channel and can stress the auditory channel because their user is trying to figure out what to focus on. So we end up overloading the learner's processing capacity and they won't be able to recall the material. This is the limited capacity assumption. It states that humans are limited in the amount of information that can be processed in each channel at one time. This means that we can only hold a few images or words in our working memory at a time before our brains are overloaded. Now, this doesn't mean that you should do away with all text, but you should sum up the message with a few key bullet points or phrases to emphasize the important points. This will lead to better and memorable learning events. On a side note, I do on certain occasions add complete on-screen text. One of these occasions is when the material has legal disclaimers or legal information that must be read by the learner. What I've done in the past is only present the text with narration. I don't want to distract the learner from the text. I will do this for a few slides and only the text that has been designated need to know. For the rest of the slides, I present the material like I would any other course. So in short, text and narration is okay, images and narration is better, images and text and narration is not good unless you keep the text to a minimum, only emphasizing key points or phrases. Alright, well that's it for this episode. See you next time. Or phrases.
Okay. So we looked at the 3 principles, the coherence, contiguity, and the last one here, the redundancy principle. So again, just to reiterate, the redundancy principle doesn't mean that you want to do away with on-screen text and audio. It just means that you want to be careful. You want to only include, if you have a voiceover on your video, you want to pull out those key points so that we don't overburden the working memory. Yeah. So Sharon, go ahead. I know you had your hand up. I apologize. And you probably have some questions there. Go ahead. Feel free to turn your mic on.
Thanks, Javed. The first question I had was with the contiguity principle, when special mention was made of aligning text with graphics. So like using text as labels as opposed to legends is what I took away, right? And keeping those,
Yeah.
in test items, you're keeping an item, everything related to an item together so that the learner doesn't have to scroll through. But I wondered about the use of color, because that presentation also talked about differences in font. Now, what I know about myself is that when text is presented to me, I read, my lips move. So I don't read aloud, but my lips move with it. But it's very distracting when there are many types of fonts, different size fonts, different color fonts, and it's scattered all over the page. Or if you look at a flyer and it's divided into 4 parts and there's a different color in each part, like a bright red and a bright blue and a bright yellow, does that also come under that contiguity principle?
Yes, yes, to a certain point, but there are different principles under the instructional designing principles that will take care of that. And we did not include that for today's session, but you are quite correct. And I would tell you, some persons, they have some difficulty, designers, that is, persons who would be creating content or flyers or whatever instructional material, they have some problems appreciating what you just mentioned there, because again, they tell themselves that this color, I feel this color is going to enhance the overall look and feel. While that may be true, if you have a very bright background and the text itself is bright as well, and there's no contrast, there's low contrast between background and font colors, then you're going to again cause confusion in the minds of the person viewing that image. And Dr. Jagannath, I think you just explained everything that I'm going to explain later in a while. But I appreciate that contribution, because you touch on a lot of things there. Text, you spoke about text as well. That is something that you need to consider, and we will be discussing that in a short while. So I don't want to talk about it now. I don't want to be redundant. So we will touch on that later on. Anybody else would like to share or have any questions? Is there a hierarchy for use, or does this choice relate to the content? Yeah, there's no hierarchy. There's no hierarchy. Based on what I know, there's no hierarchy. And there are approximately 9 principles. And you can do your additional research. We'll share some links later on via email, and you can explore the different principles. But there's no hierarchy. But these 3 principles that we selected is the top 3 principles out of the 9 to consider for teaching and learning itself when designing instructional media. Yeah. So this may be where you need to work collaboratively to settle on the visual. It brings in the need for effective design, which is not a unique, right? Yeah, yeah. I don't know who is this. You mind turning on your mic and elaborating on this contribution? IGDS UESAU. No, maybe they don't have a mic available.
Well, Javed, I don't mind piping in here because I read it and I raised my hand because I wanted to respond. And I think it brings about an important point, because I've been on teams where we've designed flyers or posters or even PowerPoints, and we pass it around whoever's responsible. And you really get the benefit of other people's interpretations, because we all interpret visual stimuli differently.
Yeah.
You know, and by sharing it in that way, having a critical friend or a group of people working on it, you really get the benefit of people's opinions who learn differently or who are more sensitive to color or text or different kinds of stimuli.
Yeah, yeah. And we have to be careful when we work and when we collaborate as well, because persons who do not appreciate these principles, they may tend to go based on how they feel, again, how they feel about the flyer. They like a particular color. Some people, they just like a particular color, and everything they design has the same background color because they love that color, you know. But that color may not be the best choice for the design itself. So go ahead, you have your hand up. I don't know who you are.
So sorry, Javed. I should have changed my
That's
name.
okay.
I'm Suan Barrett from IGDS. I'll change it
Oh,
when I'm done. What I
Barrett,
meant
alright.
was, in terms of the visual, is that, you know, depending on what you're designing, if it's just for a course or a program or a platform, sometimes you really do have to seek the counsel, the teamwork with somebody else who's better at putting together these visual elements, because I think that color can effectively draw attention, be used to reinforce, enhance the experience with the material as a learner. But if it costs scale to use local parlance, it's going to turn off, or if it's distracting, as Dr. Jagannath was saying, it can really start to confuse a person, especially depending on the color. So I think that it might be useful that you do these kind of, at least in the design phase, in a team effort, because then you will get feedback along the way. It's almost like you're doing a little pilot test of it. That's what I meant.
Yeah. I agree with you. We made a conscious decision to omit the color theory to this principle, to this presentation today, because that will come in later on when we actually look at other design workshops, right? So color theory, that's a big thing. That's a full session in itself, but you are quite correct. And we have some points that we will touch on later on. I guess it depends on the target audience as well. So Orin, if I'm saying it correctly, that's what he's saying. It depends on the target audience as well. It doesn't just depend. Yes, I agree with that 100%, but let's think outside of the audience now. Outside of the realm of the person internalizing or looking at the media. What else you think color will affect? Besides mood, besides your mood, besides emotions, what will it impact? Maybe I'm not asking the question correctly, but what could it also impact? So you're designing a flyer, and today we designed for thank you very much. Readability, thoughts, memory, all of that. Yes. But the one I'm looking at is readability, and I would peg that to these. If it is you're designing a flyer and your intention is to share that flyer digitally, how it looks on your screen as a designer may not look the same way on somebody else's screen. So we need to keep that in mind as well when selecting colors. It's a full theory itself. We need to definitely probably have a session on that later on. You all are giving us some extra work here, but I can see that it is needed. But yeah, this is very, very important. Some people say, I like red color fonts. Oh, sorry, like red color fonts do not read well. True. And then there's green. Some persons cannot, colorblind persons, they have trouble seeing green on screens, whiteboards. Even when you're writing in your classroom, you need to stay away from using green as well, because you may have someone who can't see that. Use a color palette. So again, we're going into color theory, but we let's not go down that road yet. But I appreciate all the contributions here, and this is really good because it tells me that when you are designing, you do pay attention to some of these aspects that we discuss. And for those who are now looking to enhance their already created PowerPoint presentations, you will take this information and probably put it into practice. So let's go directly into those tips. And when creating instructional material, you will design different types of instructional material. And yes, we've moved away from printed material, but printed material still has its place. We know that. So, excuse me, when designing printed material, these are some of the points that you want to pay attention to. Font style. So Dr. Jagannath, she already indicated the confusion that can happen when you include multiple font styles on one design, on one media. And font style should simply be clean and clear. You must have adequate spacing between letters as well, right? But the font size, remember, this is for printed material. So you're probably typing out some information that you're going to print for your students. I know we don't do this, and we don't really do the apply this so much right now. We use digital means, but let's say you decide you want to print something and walk to class and share it with your students. You would use a font style that is accepted, and the font style that is accepted is 12 point size, adequate white space. So what this means is that white space around text and graphics make the printed material itself easier to read. So you are going to design for printed, I don't know, you can't see, printed material. You're going to design printed material. You need to keep in mind that the paper you're going to use is white paper, and your font color, the best font color is white. And we have that in the last point there, right? Minimal text. Keep language simple, keep it straightforward. And again, which principle is this? The coherence principle. You omit or eliminate unnecessary information. If you want to add additional information, or you want students to be directed to additional information, put it in the references section, yeah, of the printed material that you're creating. If you're highlighting text, use bold or underline. There's no need to bold and underline. Graphics now, visual graphics. Only use visual graphics to support the contents within the document. Again, not because you like a certain flower, you want to include it on the printed material, or you like a certain abstract design, you include it. That will take away, why, when I'm reading it and I'm seeing this nice swirly, it's looking nice, you know, it's really looking nice, but what's the purpose of this? It really pulled my eyes, and I did not read what I'm supposed to be reading. So all those things can happen. Let me see the chat. Font choice is an interesting aspect. I prefer to write good printed documents in times, right? So we're going into that as well. Can you use a different color to highlight text? I don't want to say no, but if you are designing for printed material, we're talking about a handout for students, right? We're not talking about a flyer, we're talking about a handout for students. If you use, and the choice of paper is white, then what research is saying, you must use black text, right? And if it says you need to highlight, you can bold or underline. Now, if you want to take it a step further, you want to bold and use a different color. I don't want to say you can't do it, but if you're doing it, make sure that is a very dark color. So like a deep blue, a very deep blue. Yeah. So you can use it, but try not to. You simply bold the text, and that is sufficient. Yeah. Visual aids. So visual aids, right? These are the type of instructional materials that will include elements such as images, infographics, and so on. And it is there, of course, we know we use it to supplement the written material on a slide, or to enhance the internalization of the material on the slide. But we need to pay attention to the type of visual aids we include on our designs. Here, the first point is people learn more deeply from words and pictures than from words alone. So if persons learn deeply from words and pictures than from words alone, then why not use visual aids? So for some of those heavy text slides, it's going to take some time for you to select the best visual aid to support that material, but take the time and do it, because it is going to impact the learning. It is going to make it meaningful for the learner. They will be able to take away the information and store it in their long-term memory. Use, of course, meaningful graphics. And if you're using a graphic that is explaining the concept itself, then there's no need to add text, because you're speaking, you most likely will be speaking to the slide. All right, so use just the infographic, the graphic itself. And the last point here is visual aids or visuals used to make instructional materials pretty. We talked about that just now there with the example on printed material. If it's just there to make the material pretty, it will waste the learner's cognitive energy. And you know, I think I'm going to share this. I have two children. I have two sons, and with my firstborn, I tried teaching him. It's very difficult to teach children, by the way, I think. And I would have tried so many strategies. And now with the second one, the second boy, I realized that I need to simplify this thing. I really need to simplify it. So if I have a wall with the alphabet, what do I want on that wall? All I want is white paper with the letters. And that is working way better than what I would have done with my firstborn, because I'm so excited. You know, my first son, I'm teaching him. I want to get the best ABC chart and put it there, but it was causing confusion for him. It was too much happening in his brain at that time. I know we are at the university level, but this can also apply for adult learners, you know. Someone did put something in the chat. Not, oh, come on. Okay. It is important that we know our audience. There are some graphics that are right. The visuals must support the learning, where persons are trying to understand what the graphic is. True, I agree. You want to, Ms. Lewis, thanks for joining, by the way. I know you really wanted to attend today's session, and I know you are in the field of teaching and learning. Would you mind elaborating and giving us some advice as well on this point that you're making?
Good afternoon, Javed. Excellent presentation and seminar. I was listening to what you were saying, and you said in terms of using the graphics and meaningful graphics. I think sometimes we have to be careful as facilitators that we don't use graphics that are meaningful to us, but we use graphics that are common to whoever our audience is. And our audiences change when
so like popular culture, you use popular culture.
Well, I have been in sessions where they've used a graphic and are trying to work out what the graphic really is, because it's not common to me.
Right.
Whereas if you had a younger demographic there, that graphic would be something they would pick up on in a heartbeat. And so in terms of the working memory for the person where that graphic is not a common, something that is shared, all right, they now are distracted in trying to work out what that really mean, okay? And they can miss some of what's going on. So the point I was just making is whatever we do, it has to be learner-centered. We have to know the characteristics of the learner, and we have to make our choices based on that, along with all the other things that you're saying. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I agree, it's a good point. So yeah, you're quite correct. So this is why we need to be very careful. We need to be very, very careful. I don't need to go too much in detail there with regards to what Ms. just said, but we need to definitely pay attention to the demographics. And this is not an instructional designing session, but when you're designing instructional media, that is one aspect that you must pay attention to: the generation, the demographics, who are your learners. All of this plays a part in the design, or the effective designing of learning experiences. Yeah. So here I have an example of some information that I took from someone's slide. So they are teaching the peer review process, and this is the way they presented the information. Now, when I look at this slide, it's all well and good with high contrast between background and text. It's a white background, black text, I can read it clearly. But when I read the information on the slide, I think it can be presented in a way that will allow me to understand or grasp the information clearly. And what I did, I tried to use the same information and put it in a way that I am able to present the information in such a way that when I'm speaking, as the presenter speaking, persons are able to follow exactly the process, the peer review process in this case. And I use Canva to do this. So this is something you can do as well when you're creating, when you're using Canva to create instructional material. If you have a process that is written, you can use Canva to illustrate the process and give persons a graphical representation of the process itself. And here now I can clearly see what happens, where decisions are being made, and so on and so forth. Many journals have replaced this information. Right, good. So yes, thanks for that. Anybody else want to say anything with regards to using process flow or flow charts? No?
Yes, Javed. I want to say that, you know, the way that you present material really is a personal choice, right? So for me, I am very visual. So you would think that this flowchart would appeal to me, but it doesn't. I prefer the bullet point thing, but I know that many people in my audience would respond better to this. So I have had to learn how to move away from the bullet points. So even if I use bullet points, have some kind of graphic to support what the point is and make the point really short and really concise to support. So the graphic and the text support each other. But this diagram is sending my brain crazy. I would have preferred the bullet point.
So I was waiting for persons to say something like that, because I'm putting myself now in the shoes of a student where I do not know anything about process maps or flow charts, and I do not know that a symbol, each symbol means something. So like the oval or the circle it's supposed to be a start or end, and then the diamond would be a decision box, and so on and so forth. So to someone, a student who doesn't know anything about that, will be confused. And if they have problems internalizing data or information like this, it is going to be confusing as well. So I was happy that you brought up the point. Let me see the chat. I'm sure the chat is buzzing. I felt my brain shifting gear. It took me a minute. All right, good. Right. So the choice, so we use infographics in a way that we want to make sure the persons actually grasp the information. And based on what you all are telling me here, you all are saying this is too confusing. So what would you do if this is too confusing? Because I thought this is too confusing. And you're telling me that this is too confusing. So what would you do?
I would have used a diagram, honestly. It would might not have looked like this. This has too many arrows going to too many different places, right? So for me, that is very busy. But I can't think of how, but I probably would have used a diagram for this. You know, and I would have used PowerPoint to help me draw this diagram with the text boxes and so on, as opposed to, I've never used Canva before, so I'm hoping that you could expose us to how I could replace PowerPoint with Canva, because even PowerPoint is limiting.
Okay, so somebody is saying here, break it into 2 or 3 simple diagrams. Yeah, you can do that. I'm so happy that persons are giving us this feedback, because this is the type of feedback we need when we design, and this is one of the outcomes of collaboration. Somebody is saying indent your bullets, all of that. Yes, to the previous slide, if you indent your bullets, that could have helped in this example here, for sure. That could have helped. All right, good. So I need to move on because I'm taking too much time here. Yes, you could definitely dumb it down, make it simple. So this is another example of graphic, an infographic, or Can you tell me, the one on the left of your screen, what problems you're seeing here? What issues, what violations you're seeing here? Now, this is something I would have done in Canva a long time ago. And after designing this workshop, I realized that, man, this thing is not good. Tell me, what violations? Colors, text, you see so much, right? Exactly. Writing too small, yellow writing, red background. That's a big no-no, exactly. Like, why would I do this? I don't know, but it's so hard to stay away from these things. You know why? Because with Canva and even PowerPoint, you're presented with templates. And when you choose a template in Canva, you realize that it's so easy to just use the template design and continue your design. But at the end of the design process, this could be the outcome, and you don't want this. This is not good. So how do you feel about the one presented on the right of your screen? Much easier to read. Yeah, clear. Good. And this is another template. This is a template that we use in Canva to represent this in these steps. So we need to be very careful when selecting templates in Canva. Now let's quickly talk about images and photographs. 3 main points. Make sure your visual aid, or like visual aids, sorry, make sure those images that you select is clear, is bright, is of the appropriate size, and also include in your images by cropping the relevant parts of the image. It may not be necessary to include the entire image when you're only speaking about one part of the image. So use the cropping tool and reduce the unnecessary information in that image, yeah, in that photograph. Resizing images itself can impact quality and accessibility. So when you're resizing images, the good thing with Canva is that you can resize an image and the pixels are evenly distributed. And what happens, that allows you now to have a photo that is not pixelated. All right, slides. So I would quickly go through these things because we spoke about it already in the discussions. But these are some of the tips that we can consider for designing our slides. And I've tried my best to apply these tips when designing this PowerPoint presentation. All right, so I use high contrasting colors, hence the black background and the white text. You can clearly see the text. You can read it. It's the graphics that I include for this presentation. I don't think I have any. Yeah, I have 1 or 2, but it's purposeful. I only use those graphics for elaboration, and it is telling the audience exactly what it is supposed to tell them. I have no transitions. Oh gosh, the thing about my people stay away from those busy transitions. We are not how do I put it? We are not animators or anything like that. We need to remember that some of those animations can definitely be a distraction. It can cause cognitive overload. It can make you feel dizzy, all sorts of things. So minimize the use of animations and slide transitions. Somebody's laughing. Yeah, I agree. Exclude unnecessary words or images. We talk about that. Use graphics instead of on-screen text, and place labels. Well, we talk about those things already. We spoke about those things already. So here, let's look at this example. Let me pull this on your screen. Oops, wrong one. Good. So this is a PowerPoint presentation. Can someone let me know what are some of the violations here?
Excuse me, Javed.
Yes, you're not seeing the screen?
Yeah, I'm seeing the screen.
Oh.
And the violations are too much text, tiny text,
Right.
wide
Right.
text, ombre background.
Right.
But actually, I didn't want to answer that. I was just about to talk about the busy transitions. As you would have seen in the chat, students really like it. It wakes them up. They get excited. So is it that the response now in the present has shifted a little, that students are accustomed to the TikToks and the FaceTime and whatever, and they like the animation type things. How do you balance that?
So good point, right? And I'm not saying don't use it, but be careful. Don't overuse it, all right? If you have a PowerPoint presentation like this and you are, I mean, not with so much text, but just points, you can, from slide to slide, use the transitions to indicate to the students that you are moving from one slide to another slide if they're falling asleep. You can use that. I think that's okay. But when it comes to each point being animated, that can just be very distracting. Sometimes it takes a long time for the animation to take effect. All these things happen. So I hear you, but it's not, we are not saying don't do it, but try not to use the transition in a way that it is overloading the cognitive aspect or the cognitive overload. Don't cause cognitive overload in for your students. Yeah. Balance is key when using transitions. I agree.
Yeah, agreed.
Balance is key. Yes, too much of a good, right? Yeah. So I would give an example for what you're talking about, Miss. And you all remember when Prezi came on the scene, where he's zooming in and zooming in and zooming in. I was one of those persons who jumped directly on that Prezi wagon because I was like, wow, this thing's so awesome. But then after some time, when designing Prezi presentations, I realized this thing making me feel dizzy. And then the audience itself, some of them, they would say, they would give the feedback directly in the session. It's too much. It's too much of transitions. You're zooming in, and then you're moving, you're rotating, and it's like you're trying to mesmerize or you know, something like that. You're trying to confuse me and so on and so forth. So you don't wanna do that. Same here with Prezi. Yeah, but you can still use Prezi, but try not to use too much of those transitions. Use it to elaborate. So if it is you're presenting, so we're going into presentation skills here now. So if you're presenting in the face-to-face environment, right, you're in the physical classroom and you're presenting, there are other ways in which you can use, there are other strategies you can use to get the attention, to wake those students up. And one such way is simply your tone of voice. Just by simply, you know, using your tone, raising or lowering it, it can get persons to wake up, you know. I mean, but we are not teaching children, so you know, it may not work for adults. Some people, they're in their classroom and they had a long day, so they don't really care if you raise your voice to get their attention. So I could understand that happening as well. But there are different strategies you can employ when trying to get the attention of your students, rather than just solely relying on transitions. Too much text. So yes, you did indicate too much text, color. This one here, too much color. I don't want to spend too much time here, but we already get the point. We got the point. All right. I am going to pause for a cause. It is just about 10 to 3 on my end, and we have not looked at Canva. So I am going to stop share. We will go into Canva now itself. Any questions before we look at Canva? So we spoke a lot about designing, and I think it was necessary for us to have that discussion, those discussions, because This will only make our presentations, our designs better. The information presented on the slides, the discussions, all of that will definitely help us. Just getting my Canva up. Okay, I hear you. I hear you, Dr. Jana. Share screen. So good. So I am in Canva. And for today's session, we will look at recreating this very basic slide. But before we do that, I want us to, for those of you who are new to Canva, when you log in to Canva, this is what you will see. So I'm assuming that you all would have already created your Canva account and would have accessed your homepage. And this is what your homepage will look like. Not exactly, but it will have these tabs in the dashboard itself. So when you log in, you'll be taken to your homepage. Now, if for some reason you find yourself lost in your homepage, let's say you go to brand or discover apps and you don't know where to go or how to get out of it, one quick way to do that is click this Canva logo here. Of course, you can click the back arrow. But if you're lost and you want to go back to your homepage, you click Canva. It will take the Canva logo to the top right, and it will take you to your homepage. So in the top bar, the top section of your page, you will notice that there are design spotlights. And in the design spotlights section, you have a number of categories to select templates from. So if you're designing a presentation, you can go to the office presentations section and you can browse templates. You can select from what already exists, or you can do a quick search for templates, different types of templates. Business templates, and this is what will come up. Right, so I want to go back to the home page. I click Canva, I'm on my home page. All right, and you can do the same. So you may want to design something for social media. You have all those templates here to choose from, videos and photos, and so on and so forth. Good. Now we will not go into all of the options you have presented here on your homepage. But at least when I want for you, if you're for the first time using Canva, you are able to go to your homepage and be able to design right away. So you could also use the you might want to try section, which is presented for me right now because I've used Canva and it is using some of my information to give me choices to select based on what I would have already designed. I can use this feature or this option. Sorry, I did that too quickly. And start designing right away. Now, I want to also let you know that on your homepage, you have quick access to all your recent designs. And I've chosen to show you, to demonstrate using my personal Canva account, because I want you to see the type of designs you can create. And of course, I know you'll be able to critique my designs after going through all the information presented earlier, but you can create infographics, presentations. This is a flyer. You can create something for social media to post on social media. You can create a logo. Yes, so you can create logos as well. You can create announcements that you may want to post on the newspapers, a banner for your course, more presentations and so on. This one here, a collage to be printed to give a colleague who was leaving. All these different things you can design. A flyer for someone, because when you start using Canva and people start seeing your designs, they will ask you for assistance. So this person asked, my friend asking me to design something selling a headlamp. I'm just giving you these things. You may want to add, spruce up your courses and congratulate someone in your course. You can use the templates to do that here. I use one of the templates, and so on and so forth. But for today's presentation, or workshop, I want for you to click on the presentation option. Certificates, yes, definitely you can create certificates. Let me see, certificates. I do have certificates. Certificates, I deleted it, sorry. I deleted it, but you can create certificates. I don't have it, why? I had a lot of certificates here, but you simply type certificate. In the search bar to the top, you type certificates and you have a number to choose from. You have a lot of options. So of course, based on your account, you will be able to edit those that are free. So in selecting your templates, you have templates which will only allow full access to pro users. And if it's free, you will not see any prompt. You will not see any crown, which is telling you that you need a pro account, or you will not see a $sign that yes, which is telling you that you need to pay for this template. But this is a free one here because I'm not seeing any of those crowns or the $sign. When I click on it, I can quickly use this template. Yeah. Good. So I want for us to go to presentations. So in the top of your homepage, at the top of your homepage, you will see the presentations button. Click on it, and you will be able to select from different type of presentations that can be created in Canva. So you have a regular presentation, a talking presentation, a mobile friendly presentation, presentation in a different size format, and so on. But we'll just simply click on the first one here just for today's session and create a blank presentation. It's easy to work with templates, but we want to explore some of those tools in Canva. So when you click on blank templates, why didn't I know about this too? Well, now you know that. Now you know. you'll be taken to the blank presentation when you click on create blank presentation. And for today's session, I want for us to recreate this. And in creating this slide, we will look at adding different elements on a page. And we will look at some of those animations associated with it, or some of those different graphical options that you have to modify and enhance your design. All right, so I'm going to add a new page first. Okay, so this is what you should have on your screen, a blank page. And when you are in your design space, you have access to templates in the top left. In the sidebar navigation, you have templates, elements, uploads, text, all these, and you may not see all these options, but what I did, I pulled some of my frequently accessed or used options and pinned it to my sidebar. And to do that, you click on the More option, the ellipsis button at the bottom of your side menu or your sidebar, and you will be able to select from all these apps here. You will have quick access to all these apps. Now, some of these apps, you need to have an account for it. For example, Facebook, you can link your Facebook with your Canva account one time. So when you create your designs, everything is talking to each other. It's quick. It's really easy. YouTube as well. You can pull YouTube into your menu, into your sidebar. All right. But I want you to know that the first one on top here is templates. And when you click on templates, since I've selected a presentation design, I have presentation templates I can choose right here. So if I like this presentation format, I can click on it, I click on it, and now it's giving me all the pages, all the slides, the designs that I can select from and pull it on my page. All right, and to do that, I simply click on it. So let's say I like this one here. That's it. I can start editing right away. But today we are not doing that. We are designing from scratch. And the other option you will have will be elements. And that's located again in your sidebar. And with elements, you can insert shapes, graphics, tables, photos, videos, audio, charts, etc., stickers, etc. Right? So imagine putting something like this on your presentation. I don't think so. I would not want to do that unless absolutely necessary. But the options there, and it's so easy. It really looking nice. It's catching my attention. So I would click on it and I might want to use it. But we need to exercise restraint, right? So the slide again, let's look at the slide. We are going to recreate a slide, and at the top of the slide, you would see elements of communication. That's the header. And this is what we are going to do now. We are going to add text. So this brings me to the other option here, the other tool, the text tool in the menu bar, text. So I want to add text, and you can select from the three options to the top: heading, subheading, and body of text. Now I'm going to click on those three options so you'll get an idea of what it does. So when I click add heading, this is how it will appear on my slide: subheading and a little bit of body. So I would want to use these three options throughout my presentation and be consistent as well. In this case, I am going to create a heading. So I want to use the add heading. Now, of course, you do have these temptations here on the side. You can choose these styles, these text styles, but again, we're not looking at that today. I'm going to add, what is the first side? Text elements of communication. You can add anything you like. Right. So I've added the text, and I know that in this example, there's a background. To do that, you highlight the text and then you select effect. And when you select effect, you can now apply effects to text. And these are the style effects you have in your free account. Shadows, you can add a shadow and you will be able to modify the shadow itself. You can add a lift, and again, you can enhance the intensity if you feel like. And the one I'm looking for is background. So I'm going to apply a background. Just so you'll know that you can, when you apply a text, you can apply different effects and select the different styles. And now I have elements of communication with a yellow background, but I don't want that background. I want a different color background. And here is where I go to change that background. I click on the color, the yellow color here, and I can select from the palette the different colors to apply to my background. Yeah. What color was it? What color was it? Black. Yeah. Black. So I have black background, and now I want to modify, change the text color. So I have my text still selected. So I'm going to deselect. Now, when I select it, I have these menu options appearing when text appears. And I have to select text color, the text color tool, to change the text color. So I'm going to make it white. Now, if and this color palette came with the blank template. And if you choose a template, you will also be accessing that color palette selected for that template. So you can keep the colors consistent throughout that template design you've selected. But we are not working with a template right now. Let's say I'm looking for a specific color. I can use the search option to the top here and search for a color. Sorry. Type red and it will bring up all these search options. Good. So we know how to add text and we know how to add a background or an effect to text. We know how to edit the font color. Now let's look at editing the font size, which is very straightforward. You have the font size option here. You can use the plus or increase or decrease option, or you can type this font size you want. In this case, let's say 50. That's small. Don't like that, it's too small. Let's try 80. So you type and then you hit enter on your keyboard and that's it. You also can edit the font style. So again, we're going to limit our font style. Can you change the shape of your text box? No. No, I can't. I won't be able to change the shape. Unfortunately. So to change the font style, you click you make sure your text is selected and you select the drop down arrow in the top left and select your font style. Right? Good. Let's see, what can we do here again? Now, of course, you can underline, you can use the uppercase option, alignment, bullets, list, spacing, and so on and so forth. We'll look at those after. If you choose a shape in elements, you can have more flexible. Yes, definitely. Yes. So if you choose a shape in elements, let me not choose that shape. Shapes. So I go to, let me just go back. So you click elements. There's the line and shapes option. You can search right here by scrolling or clicking the left and right arrows, or you can click see all and select these shapes. All right, and you can apply a different shape background to your text if you want. All right, effects. There's also changing the shape. I wonder if this is what Mina, no, Debbie. Is it Debbie? Shape of your text box. I wonder if she was referring to the curve option. You can also make your text curved by using this option here. Right? And you can change the orientation of the curve as well. Right? Okay. Now let's look at that slide we are recreating. So now we have the header, and I want for us now to include the images of the two persons, the male and the female, right? So let's go to elements, and when you click on elements, the elements button in your sidebar, type in the search box man. Just type in man. And when you type and hit enter, it will bring up all the search options for you to select from. And again, we are simply exploring the tools, right? So you can select whichever one you want. In this case, we are not designing for any students. I have selected this animated character, this cartoon character. Now he is facing the direction that I don't want right now. I want him to be facing the other direction. To do that, I make sure he is selected, and I now click on the flip option and choose flip horizontal. And I just flipped him horizontally. And if I vertically flip him, well, this is what it will look like, right? Good. So this is what I want. And now I can click on the image or the object, hold. So I'm left clicking and hold, and I can drag anywhere I want to put him on my page. Let's see how, right. So in this design, he is out of the page. So I can bring him down to where I want him. Good. I can also change the size by clicking on the handles, the corner handles. So when you click on any one of the corner handles and you drag in or out, you will be changing the size of the person, of the object, right? So this is a cartoon character, so we can change the size. I can change the size as well by using the side handles. Now these side handles, look at what is happening. When I click and I drag, this option is not sizing him the way I want him to be sized. He is being sized or inside these the bounded boxes, all right? And I can use that option if I only want to highlight a certain part of the object. But I don't want that. So if I want to make an image bigger or smaller, I would use only the corner handles, right? Okay. So we have our guy here. Now let's add, just type woman, and so you go to elements, type in the search bar. You can type anything you want. We're just keeping it simple, woman, and you can select from the choices available and choose this person here, this cartoon character here, and I am going to place her at the right corner of my slide. Now, you would notice that when you are moving around an object, there are some guidelines appearing on your screen. Use these guidelines to help you keep your objects in line and within the spacing of your slide. Right now, let us add. Thanks, appreciate it. Now let us add the encoding option. So to do that, the encoding object. To do that, we click on elements again, and we are going to use the oval. Is it oval? I think I need to click see all and search for an oval, or I can type oval. There I have the oval. What color is it? Right. So it's white. And to do that, it's already highlighted. I click on the color tool and I change the color. So once I've done that, I can place the oval where I want it to be. And in this case, it is in line with the eyes of the person here. Keep it right here for now. And now I want to add text. So we are taking the long way, but we are only doing that because I'm able to show you the different tools in Canva. Any questions? I don't want, let me see, it's 19 after 3, okay. Any questions? I don't want to be wasting your time as well. So let me know if you think this is.
I have a question, thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if you could have changed the layout of the page, like you have in PowerPoint, you have a page with 2 sections. I was wondering if you could do that in Canva.
In this free instance, no. But thanks for bringing that question up, though, because what happened is that at the end of the session, I was going to let you all know that you can create an account. All right. Just diverting a little bit here. And to do that, you have to use your UE, your STA email to create your account. And when you create your account, you'll be given a lot more accessibility to the different tools. So for example, if you want to use this oval, I have this oval here and it's saying Pro. If I have the Edu license, I will have full access to this oval and I will be able to change the orientation as well. Candice, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. My question was very similar to that, Javed, because I wanted to know if you would recommend buying up the pro, like the professional version of Canva, with respect to any functionality that is available in the free version. Now I'm hearing about the educator version, and I'm wondering, is it a good investment as a lecturer, long term as a career? Would you suggest that, I mean, it's not Photoshop, but should I buy the official professional version? That's my question.
Well, I've been using Canva since they released the tool. And I've had this same free account for over, I think more than 5 or 6 years, right? And only last month, I activated the Edu license account using the UE email. And so for that period, I was able to do what I needed to get done.
Okay,
so I know I have limitations. Yeah, I have limitations, but I'll tell you, I'm very excited now to use the Edu account. I simply did not activate the Edu account in the past because it's tied to the institutional email, and to access it later on, if I'm not with the institute, it might be a little problematic, right? So I decided to just keep the free account going. But as an educator, use the Edu license because you have so many templates you can choose that will allow you to quickly design. You'll be able to design faster because you'll have
time.
Saves you time. You have tables that you have access to. So if you're designing a presentation and you're using tables, you can select a number of design tables, pull it on your page and start editing right away.
But it's not overwhelming, right? Because sometimes you're happy with a free version and you upgrade and then you get confused because there's so much things get moved around because the menu is different. And so was it an easy learning curve to transition from free to Edu?
There was no learning curve.
Oh, cool. Thanks for that.
It was just a seamless transition. Right? So there was nothing. Yeah,
because at this stage, I'm not looking to go down a learning curve already, trying to learn Teachable right now. So I'm trying to make my list short.
Right. So Dr. Jagannath,
thanks, Javed, but I want to give way to Carla Cronberg because her hand was up before mine.
Oh, sorry. Carla, go ahead.
Hi, 2 questions. Sometimes it's difficult to manipulate shapes. So if I put a rectangle on the page and I want it to take up half the page, sometimes it's difficult to do that to a square. How do you get, how are you able to manipulate shapes in the way you want it?
Okay, so I need you to help me here. So I have a shape on my screen. And you want to manipulate it how?
I want it to take up a third of the page.
So we can use, I think I know what you are saying. It all depends on the shape you choose. So in this case, I could manipulate this shape in the way I want to pick up a third, a half, you know, something like this.
Yes.
This is what you're looking for?
Yes, perfect. So now this one had the four corners with the little.
Right. So you need to be careful. Good, very good question. So when you're selecting your shapes, you need to use the ones that are available for manipulation, easy manipulation for what you want. Sometimes if, I'm trying not to go, let's try, let me see if this one will. Okay, I'm able to do this one. I think I'm able to do this one as well. I know what you're talking about, but I'm not experiencing it right now. Other shapes. Are you trying it right now? And it's
no, but I do use Canva from time to time.
Right. So make sure the shape you're using, if you want to have more options to manipulate, as you indicated, make sure the one that you select has the 4 bounded boxes.
Right.
And that will allow you to do that you're talking about. This.
So
I know this is what you want.
able to know if it has the 4 bounded boxes unless you put it on the page.
Yeah. And you will get you will get accustomed after some time, and the system itself will pull your frequently used shapes, recently used shapes to the top section of the elements button, so you can quickly access it again the next time around.
And this is my next question. Were you able to transfer all your slides from your free version to the edu version?
Yeah, it comes across automatically.
Oh, and it doesn't matter what email, if you're using a different email with your free slides, with your.
Oh, wait. So you're using you're talking about transitioning from your free to with your personal email to your edu account using your institutional email.
Yes.
That is a problem because and that is one of the reasons. Thanks for bringing that up as well. That is one of the reasons why it took me so long as well to switch, because I could not have done it. I've tried so many times. They are asking you to provide evidence of being employed in a university or educational institute, and when I do that, they're still rejecting my they reject it. They reject my request. But if you just recreate, if you start from scratch and you recreate, you can do that. But the workaround is to simply, and these are all good questions, because you are learning the options here. You are exploring the different options. So let's say this is my free account and I want to send this across to my edu license account. What I do is simply click
Share.
Share,
Right.
and add my institutional email here, and it will appear in my edu license account.
So this is my last question. I know you're coming to this, but I'll ask it anyway. I know that if you want the animations, you could only present online and you can't download. Is there some way, because I'm always fearful presenting online, I prefer to have a copy. Is there some way that you could do that with Canva?
Based on my experience, no, unless you save as a video, MP4. And that is not what you want. You want to be able to present in the same way you can present using the present option here, right? But you have not seen any options to allow me to do that. So I am with Prezi, you know, when you download a Prezi presentation, you are downloading the entire Prezi package. Canva is not like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for answering.
Yeah, no problem. And Dr. Jagannath?
One question, Javid. I have a number of questions in the chat, but one of them is also one I have about the advantages of using Canva over PowerPoint, because I mean, aside from the multitude of graphics and effects I prefer simplicity because it's the way I think, simple but effective, right? And I really don't see, to me, what is so great about, I mean, I guess I would have to use it to really find it out, but what would be the advantage of using Canva over PowerPoint?
So it all depends, again, it all depends on what you're saying there, right? How what you want to use it for. So in this case, collaboration is one of those advantages. You can collaborate. Yes, you can collaborate with PowerPoint, but collaboration is so easy here and on the fly with persons. That's one. The other thing is you have options to link all your different apps if you are into that, if you're using multiple apps. For example, QR code, if you're presenting, and I mean, this is how the presentation is going, so I'm just going this way. If you all think I need to stop and go back to what we planned, let me know. But I'm making a shift. I do apologize. So let's say I want to use QR code. I'm presenting and I want to, in my presentation, take students to this webpage. Bad example. Let's try, to this page. I could copy the URL and use, is it here? Yeah. Let me just make sure that you are following. So I am going to use QR code, paste the URL here, generate QR code, and while presenting, I can just simply ask the students to take out their phones and open their cameras, point it at the QR code, the quick response code, that's what they call it. And it will take them directly to this page. You can try it now if you feel like. So during your presentation, you can do that, things like that. Yeah, it's cool. And again, this is all based on your audience as well. So our audience now, the younger generation, they're all in with this, using the phone and digitization and scanning QR codes to access things. This is one thing that I know PowerPoint doesn't have right now. Characters, if it is you want to use some of those emojis or different characters in your to create a character. I mean, Doc, it all depends on your outcome, you know. I don't really want to debate too much the advantages and disadvantages, but I think Prezi is good for what it is designed to do. If you're designing PowerPoint presentations and you're comfortable using PowerPoint, there's templates in PowerPoint as well. It's doing the same thing that Canva can do to a certain extent. If you want to design a flyer, you can't, you may not want to, some persons will use PowerPoint to do that. I've seen that, but it's easier to do it in Canva because of the different formats you can select from. So the different size pages and all these different aspects of when it comes to printing or sharing, right? When it comes to sharing, you can click share, you can present, record. If you have a website like a blog, you can link your design directly to your blog. PowerPoint can't do that. And make it interactive so persons can, on your blog, interact with this presentation. You can share directly to social media. You can download. Of course, you can download your PowerPoint presentations as well. But while we're on the topic, you can download as a JPEG, PNG, PDF, MP4, and you can create GIFs, GIFs, however you want to pronounce it, right? So I hope I was able to answer your question. Probably not fully, but halfway there. I'm not trying to convince you, but I'm letting you know that you can use Canva to design your instructional media. Okay, so I've taken the approach to deal with the questions while we interact with the demo. We will not design the entire slide, but you have definitely been exposed to some of the elements in Canva, and we already know how to apply an element using elements, shapes, graphics, okay? Tables, you have tables in the free instance, but you have more friendly tables or yeah, let's just say use have friendly tables with the edu license. All right, you have photos. You can also select you can type for photos using the search bar. When you select elements, you can type for any photo. Trees. It can be, so by default it will bring up all photos, but you can all images, sorry, I apologize, but you can tell the system that you only want to see photos by selecting photos, and photos will be those realistic photographs that persons would have taken, and of course it's free for use, no copyright attached. Graphics, this is what the graphics, videos, so you can apply, let me work on blank screen. I can pull this and have it running. All right. One thing you can do as well, Dr. Jagannath, you can use Canva to create all those graphical info, well, let's just say infographics, and embed it on your My e-learning courses, in your My Learning courses. All right. If time permits and you all want to see how I am using Canva, I don't know if you all are familiar. Some of you did attend the, what is the H5P. Yeah, sorry. The H5P workshop some time ago. Some of you did attend the H5P workshop some time ago. I am using Canva right now to create an interactive element using H5P. So I'm designing in Canva, then I'm bringing it in H5P and creating interactivity with the content. And that is something you could probably do that in PowerPoint, but it is the turnaround time is faster using Canva. All right. Oh, somebody wants to see. All right, no problem. So I have that on another system here. Let me stop share. Share screen. So let's say you're teaching a course, andragogy. And adult learning. And you want to create an interactive element and have it embedded in your course. Now, you can also use H5P and embed it on your Drupal websites. Our faculty, different faculties, they have their websites. You can embed this on your page itself when you've completed working on it. All right, so this is just slide one. Nothing wrong, nothing exciting here, but I've used Canva to design this background, and then persons can hover and click and, you know, things like this. All right, and I did use Canva to create those things. So you're seeing here, I use Canva to do that. So I have the basic templates or backgrounds, and then I pull it into H5P, and I use the different tools available in H5P to add some interactivity. So here, persons viewing this content, when they reach stage 1 and they want to know more about the dependent learner, they click on this. I'm now building this, so it's nothing too exciting, but we can add assessments, drag and drops, and all these different things later on. I haven't reached there yet, but this is just an idea. All right, tables. Do I have tables in this? I think I have tables. Oh yeah, I have a table here. This was created in Canva as well. So I chunked the information and use some graphics as well. Good. Any other questions?
Hi, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there going to be a session where we get to learn about making recorded videos and voice recording?
Yes.
Okay, because I've been trying to do that and organize the timing of the slides, and I've been in a little bit of trouble.
Okay. Okay, so let me get some feedback from you. In which workshop did you present it? Oh, there was a H5P workshop, and I think if you go to our site, we have another one later on. I think September. I'm not sure right now. I can't remember the date. You can register for that other workshop, that H5P workshop. Yeah. So I want to know from you, do you all want me to go into Canva again and show the different elements or creativity options that you have access to, or simply stop and answer and do some show and tell as well? So a question came up with regards to making videos using Canva. Let me know. Let me know in the chat. Please go into Canva, okay? So Sharon is saying go into Canva. Okay, Canva. Good, so we are in Canva again. But yes, we will look at creating the videos later on. You will get that hit in your inbox sometime. So we can add photos. Somebody did ask in the chat if we can upload photos. Yes, you can upload photos. To do that, you click on the upload option. And if you have already uploaded images, videos, or audio. Oh, so I did upload a video just to let you know that you can upload a video. Audio, I don't think I did. Oh, yes, I did. So you have audio that you can upload, and when you upload it, it remains here in the cloud for quick access the next time you want to use it. But if you want to upload new media, you click upload media, and we will be familiar with the rest. All right, so you search for your media, and then you click open, or you hit enter on your keyboard. Right? And now that, let's say I uploaded this image here, to pull it on my on my canvas, I simply click on the image, the media, and it's here, and I will be able to apply some of the basic editing options to it. I can edit the image by clicking edit image, and when I click edit image, it opens up the options to apply filters. And again, this is all based on what you're trying to achieve. The options, it's here. I'm just gonna select grayscale for now. And this is what it did to my image, and I can modify the intensity. All right. There are different tools as well. I can enhance, auto enhance the image, because I might find the picture is the image, the color is looking faded. You click the auto enhance, and it will enhance the coloring of my photo as it did here. It took a grayscale image and look what it did. All right, and then of course I can modify the intensity. I can apply shadows. All right, so it's taking some time. So this is a glow. Now I've applied a glow, and you're seeing it here in the background of the image or just outside of the image. And I want to edit the glow itself. I click on, I probably did that too fast. You're seeing the lines here inside the glow option that I've applied. I need to get those controls by clicking on it itself. And here I'll be able to change size, the transparency, the blur. So you can do all of that. You can do the same for a drop shadow, angle shadow, and so on. I can use frames as well. Edit image, frames. And I selected the laptop frame, and it put my image inside the laptop screen. So you have those options to when editing an image. Now, let's pull another image I have here. So we have this image. I want to cut out some areas. I can use the crop tool. So when you select crop, you use the bounding boxes or the handles to crop the areas you want. And then you click out when you're done. And there you have it. Just cropped an image. I can animate my image by clicking animate to the top and then using the basic animations available. We have scale, exaggerate, and you will have more options, more animated options using the Edu account. All right. So if you apply an animation to your slide or your graphic or your flyer, sorry, and you want to share that flyer with the animations being applied to it, you need to share, download file, download as MP4 video. It will have to be played as a video. You can use this other option too, Jeff. And I've used this a lot when I advertise workshops or webinars, or try to add some excitement, you know, build some excitement when advertising. I just use the Canva animations and send it out as an MP4 video and put it on YouTube, put it on Facebook. You could use it in WhatsApp and all these different places as well. Just check the chat here. All right, thanks everyone. It's been, I know, let's see. Oh, we definitely, our time has definitely expired, but I'm still seeing a lot of you here, so I assume you're enjoying the session. I'm here. I will stay on if you are. If there's anything you want me to go through right now, let me know. Can I customize my canvas size? I did answer that question earlier. If you use the Edu license, you have the option to customize the sizing of your slides, your graphical, other graphical designs, or the graphic designs. With the free account, that's a limitation. Exactly. Can I import a PowerPoint presentation? In the earlies, yes. Today, no. So that's a no-no. Yeah, I know that sucks, but it is what it is. I wish they kept that, but I guess they did that in the earlies to get people on board. Yeah, do over your slides. And okay, while you're doing over your slides, you can definitely add notes. So you're seeing to the bottom left here. When you click on notes, you can add your presenter notes, and it will only be available to the presenter in presenter view. All right. Now let's say I have created a slide. All right. And this slide is my template for all my slides. What I can do is duplicate the slide by clicking the duplicate page button located at the top right of my slide. So I'm going to click that, and I have a copy or a duplicated version of my template. Now, sometimes you're working for a long period on your designs, and you may duplicate one page and you think that you're working on the page that's duplicated, but really and truly you're working on the original page, and that's not what you want to be doing. You're editing the original templates, and you don't want to do that. One way to avoid that is to simply lock the page. So you click the lock option, and now I cannot edit anything on my page, right? That's just a tip. You can delete your page, and you can add a blank page as well, using the options available to the top right. If you're not seeing that, you probably have the show pages option activated on your screen. It's located to the bottom. When you click show pages, those options are no longer available at the top right. They will be available on each slide here, each thumbnail view. When you click on the ellipses option, you would see add page, duplicate, hide, lock, etc. Right, and to get back the other view, you simply click the drop down arrow, hide pages, and you will see those tools available to you right here. All right, so when you're done with your design, you can, when you're finished, you can share your design with persons via their email. So you can type that here and share with my colleague randy.duku@STA, right? And you add those persons, and they will be added to what is called your team. Now, if you are looking to download your design, you have to click share again, click share, and you go to download, and you have file types. We did look at this, but I think I moved too quick there. So you have JPEG, JPG, PNG, PDF, etc. So you can choose the option. So is there a way to get back your original design after resizing it? after resizing the page, the size of the page, or the element on the page? I don't know. I need to look into that.
Hi, good afternoon. You hearing me?
Oh, yes, I'm hearing you.
All right. So what happened? I would have created, let's say, an invitation, and then I tried to resize it just to get the background. But when I applied the resize, I disfigured the whole design, and then I couldn't get back the original at all.
You didn't save it as a different version?
No, unfortunately. I thought I could have undo.
And you tried the undo option?
Yeah, it didn't work. Apparently, once you click apply resize, yeah, that's it there. What I should have done was create a copy and then apply.
Yes, yeah. That's what you need to do. Well, yeah, you can try Control Z. It might happen. It's the same as clicking the button, though, the undo button. Well, Control Z or Command Z for the Mac people. I don't know if that will help. I don't think it would. I've never tried it, so I'm unable to answer your question. I apologize, but that's something I do all the time. I duplicate. I make a copy when trying these things out. All right, so again, we look into download, and we will close in 4 minutes. We'll end in 4 minutes, but I'm just going to show you where to go to download. So you click share, download, and when you, let's say, you selected, let's say you just want one slide to add somewhere. You select PNG, or you could select JPG. And here now, you can tell the system by selecting this drop-down arrow, which page you want downloaded, rather than have all these pages downloaded, because you only want one. You don't want all, you just want one. So rather than have all being downloaded as a zip file, you can tell the system you only want the current page, this page, or page 5 to be downloaded, and you hit done. When you hit done, you click on download, and it will be downloaded to your downloads folder on your system. Yeah. So always name your artwork appropriately. And if you are going to experiment, make a copy, as we just learned. Make a copy. That's a very helpful tip. Before you go, when I am going to let you know that sometimes when you are saving your design using the free account, as when you download as a PNG using the free account, the size of your design is size 1. You cannot edit it. But as an edu license account holder, you are able to use this slider and save it to using the maximum size and have it being applied to different programs so it doesn't look pixelated. So that's another benefit of using the edu license if you don't want to pay for a license. Yeah, I just felt I needed to share that, because some persons might want to use Canva, create a design for a video, put it in a video editor, and it's looking pixelated in the video editor. One way to deal with that is use the edu license. If you're not using a paid version account, use the edu license, and you can slide the slider to the maximum limits and download. And that brings me to the end of today's session. We can do a lot. I know that there are a lot of questions you may still have in the chat that I haven't answered. I apologize, but this is how it goes when you have a large group and a very exciting tool to showcase. I do look forward to seeing some of your designs, some of your PowerPoint presentations in the future. I look forward to also seeing you in the H5P training, and I hope that we could probably link some of what was discussed in today's session in the earlier part to the designing of H5P activities. So again, thank you so much for joining today's session. Please, please click on the link that my colleague, Mr. Duku, shared. This link is going to take you to our evaluation form. Please fill it out. It is what we will be using to make your experience better. So again, thanks for attending. Feel free to send me emails if you encounter any challenges using the tool. I am always happy to assist. Good one. Yes, cognitive overload.